April 19, 1943. A man rides his bicycle through the streets of Basel, Switzerland. But something's wrong. The world is melting around him. Sounds are bending. Colors are alive. He feels like he's both floating and falling at once. That man was Dr. Albert Hofmann, and he had just become the first person in history to take LSD. And he didn't even mean to. Let's rewind. In 1938, Hofmann was working at Sandoz Laboratories, trying to synthesize compounds from ergot, a fungus that grows on rye. His goal was to create a circulatory stimulant. One of the compounds he made was the 25th in the series, lysergic acid diethylamide, or LSD-25. But at the time, it didn't seem useful. It was shelved. Forgotten. Until 5 years later, something told Hofmann to take another look. He resynthesized LSD-25 in 1943, and something strange happened. As he was working with the compound, he began to feel odd. Dizzy. Restless. The walls were breathing. The lab felt like it was alive. He had absorbed a small amount through his skin, and it hit him like lightning. 3 days later, on April 19th, Hofmann decided to intentionally take 250 micrograms of LSD, just to understand it better. He underestimated how potent that dose was. Way underestimated. And that afternoon, he hopped on his bicycle to ride home, entering what would later be called the first acid trip in history. It's now known as Bicycle Day, the birth of LSD's psychedelic journey. Hofmann described seeing kaleidoscopic colors, warped shapes, intense fear, and moments of spiritual insight. He thought he was dying. Then he thought he was being reborn. And when it wore off, he was stunned, not just by what he had seen, but by what LSD seemed capable of unlocking in the human mind. What followed was a whirlwind. Sandoz made LSD available to psychiatrists and researchers. It was branded Delicid, and doctors across the world began using it in clinical trials. They believed it could treat anxiety, depression, trauma, even alcoholism. Some called it a wonder drug for the mind. By the 1950s and 60s, LSD spread beyond science. It hit the streets and the counterculture. Beat poets, musicians, college students, and hippies were all experimenting with it. The Grateful Dead, the Beatles, and Timothy Leary made it iconic. Turn on, tune in, drop out became a psychedelic battle cry. But this explosion of interest also triggered backlash. Governments feared what LSD could do, not just to individuals, but to society. The CIA had already been experimenting with LSD in secret mind control projects like MK-Ultra. When the public started using it widely, the state cracked down. LSD was criminalized in the US in 1968. It went from medicine to menace. But here's the twist: Hofmann never saw LSD as dangerous. Even decades later, he believed it was a tool that, in the right hands, could help humanity understand itself. He called it medicine for the soul. He even wrote a book, LSD, My Problem Child, explaining his views and fears about how the world misunderstood his invention. Today, the story is coming full circle. Researchers are once again studying LSD. Clinical trials are underway to see if it can help people with PTSD, addiction, or terminal illness anxiety. In places like Oregon, psychedelics are even being decriminalized or used in supervised therapy. And yet, it all started with a mistake. A lab slip-up. A little bit of ergot, and one man's curiosity. LSD didn't just change one mind, it cracked open the doors of perception for an entire generation. And it forced society to confront a deep question: what happens when we mess with consciousness itself? Thanks for watching CONCURDAWRLD. If your mind's been expanded, drop a like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to know where LSD really came from. And remember, some of history's biggest breakthroughs started as accidents.